Acquire the best tight end in franchise history, at least since they moved to the desert. They make the big move. Steve Keim puts on his big boy britches and brings in a playmaking tight end. We're breaking it down. It's Bo Brock. It's Alex Clancy. It's a little impromptu. Locked On Cardinals here on a Friday.
Woo!
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your second listen today, as you've already probably tuned into our episode where you're previewing this game, and that was before Steve Keim pulled off. You know, it's when fans and people like myself and Alex Clancy can connect the dots and just play GM and make this deal ready for the Cardinals, and then Steve Keim pulls it off actually in reality and brings in a former Pro Bowl tight end like Zach Ertz, who's just an absolute monster in the red zone. It's like one of the worst kept secrets, but you just still have to pinch yourself that it happened. The Arizona Cardinals today, Alex, they make the deal. They trade for tight end Zach Ertz. They send a 5th round pick and Tay Gowan, the 6th round pick from the 2021 draft. A lot of people were excited about Tay Gowan, who missed this past college football season due to the pandemic. He slides to the 6th round, never really sees the field as an Arizona Cardinal in the regular season. Gone before we know him, but incoming is a guy that can make plays for the Cardinals at the tight end position, something that they've desperately wanted. Max Williams was starting to do it for the first time in his career this year, but unfortunately was lost in the injury. What is Zach Ertz at 31 bring to the Cardinals at 5-0, looking to go 6-0? He won't play this week, but what does he bring to the team going forward?
A better chance to score touchdowns and not settle for field goals in the red zone. Like, if we're being simple about things, he's going to be a red zone monster. Like the antithesis of what we saw with Carson Wentz when he was there during the heyday in Philly a couple years back, where they'd use him between the 20s and then they would shy away. It was Dallas Goedert's emergence in the red zone, or they'd go elsewhere or run the ball. Zach Ertz is a 6'5", big hunk of man that Kyler Murray is going to throw the ball to in the red zone. It's going to be awesome. I mean, it's not a direct correlative, but it's close. It's like Rodney Hudson at center, where you have DJ Humphries and Kelvin Beachum, the bookends on the side of the line. You have the spine. That's kind of what you're looking at, especially in the red zone, with DeAndre Hopkins and A.J. Green on the outside, with a 6'5", 30-year-old tight end, proven all-pro guy that can run routes, catch balls, and score touchdowns. You know, this is a perfect situation for the Cardinals. He's 30. He's not 50. This is an absolute home flipping run for the Cardinals.
Well, what you outlined was on full display on Thursday Night Football. I mean, we saw him, and he scored a touchdown in the early goings of that contest, and he can be a guy like, can you imagine if he's running the same route for Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury's offense, where you've got James Conner, who's been money in the bank in short yardage situations. You've got DeAndre Hopkins. You've got the array of wide receivers underneath, and now you have a guy who can find open space at the tight end position better than anybody in the history of the Arizona Cardinals, at least since coming to the desert. I mean, this is Steve Keim. As you mentioned, it's him pushing his entire stack of chips into the middle of the table and saying, hey, we're 5-0. We have an opportunity here. I'm going to be aggressive. And he really didn't have to give up that much, considering that the projected compensatory picks coming their way for P3, leaving via free agency. You had a 5th round pick to burn. It does. I mean, you gave up a guy that you're intrigued by in Tay Gowan, but he hasn't seen the NFL field yet. So this is a great trade for Steve Keim.
Yeah.
Crew.
Yeah. Again, draft picks are the most overvalued things in the NFL, in professional sports, probably. You know, I mean, it's like a 5th round pick for a guy that you know is going to come in, barring any sort of injury, and be an immediate impact guy. And no, he can't play Sunday. You can't double dip, man. Stop asking me. You can't play you can't play 18 weeks of the regular season as an NFL player, okay? But yeah, I mean, this is a home run. How many times are 5th round picks just crapshoots? You know, that's what they are later on. And sure, you'll find diamonds in the rough. You'll find guys that'll make impact. But Zach Ertz, and he has ties here. Don't they live here? He and his wife, don't they have a house here?
Well, his wife grew up in Mesa.
Okay, so that's what it is. Julie, right? Yeah.
Julie.
So
Yeah, formerly Julie Johnston, now Julie Ertz. She, of course, of the women's soccer team, national soccer teams, a couple World Cups and Olympic gold medals. She's coming home. Yeah, cue the old "I'm coming home" theme right now. I mean, it's and of course at this stage in your life, you're like, it's happy wife, happy life. You go to her old stomping grounds, not yours. But I mean, just think about, Alex, where this tight end room is now compared to where it was back. Who was our guy? Mike Clay, who gave them the worst graded tight end room in the entire NFL. And now, we'll see what they do with Richard Rodgers. I mean, a guy on their practice squad, he still intrigues me as a guy that could come in. I kind of like him a little bit more than Demetrius Harris or Ross Travis. But, Darrell Daniels coming off the COVID list. Like if Darrell Daniels can be a guy in the run blocking game or just blocking game and be your primary blocking tight end, because Zach Ertz, that's not his forte. 51 run block grade since 2017. I think that this is going to be a complete offense. I mean, as close to a complete offense as there is in the NFL.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, this isn't shiny object syndrome either. Zach Ertz, we've seen just enough of Zach Ertz this year so far to know that he's going to make an impact, and with Richard, even with Richard Rodgers, that would have been fine. And that's not to say that Richard Rodgers won't be on the active roster come Sunday or, maybe next week when he gets to learn the playbook a little bit more. At this point, and you never want to think about it this way ever, but it's something that you kind of have to say, they have a deep enough pass catching room in the wide receiver and tight end combined now to where if there is some sort of injury, and I'm not saying you never wish, you never hope, but if there is some sort of injury, they're so much more covered than they have been since before 2015 when they said, let's ride with Jerron Brown, JJ Nelson, and John Brown and Larry Fitzgerald. That was what they decided. So they have what functioning operational offenses on winning teams have, which is endless options. Because if you have Richard Rodgers be your starting tight end from here until the end of the regular season, it's going to be at least an average tight end room, because Richard Rodgers has shown that when needed to, he can be a ball catching tight end. And then you bring in Zach Ertz. This red zone offense is nearly impossible to stop at this point if the play calling is right. Who are you going to stop?
Yeah, I don't think that Zach Ertz has even played in an offense with this much talent. I don't. And that's you think about the Philly Super Bowl team. It was even when Carson Wentz threw for 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, and he got injured for the rest of the year and missed the postseason. Nick Foles has one of the most outrageous runs to a Super Bowl victory. But they had, of course, Alshon Jeffrey, and they had Ertz, and they had at the running back position they had some pretty good players. But this, I mean, with the role that Max Williams was playing, and Max Williams was not a playmaker at all at the tight end position before this season. He only had over 200 yards in a season for a career high. His career high he matched this year as far as touchdowns with 1. I mean, this is Max Williams playmaking on steroids. This is unbelievable. Yeah. This is PEDs to an NFL offense. And I know, look, this is not Zach Ertz from a couple seasons ago. This isn't 1,000-yard tight end, but this is a guy that's going to just give you another weapon that when DeAndre Hopkins is getting doubled, or AJ Green is not open, or Rondell Moore, it's not there for him, Chase Edmonds out in the backfield's not there, guess who's going to be open? You can't cover them all. Even as Zach Ertz at over 30 years old, we saw it on full display in Thursday Night Football. This is a true embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, it is. And you can tell we're excited. Alex Clancy, Bo Rock going live. And again, we recorded the podcast before the trade happened. We didn't omit it on purpose and said, nah, boo-boo, we're not going to talk about it. So that's why we're going live now. Let's look at this from a bird's eye view. Let's look at this from right now through the end of next season, which is where Kyler Murray is going to get re-upped for his contract. And this is just fun to look at because you can talk about this forever. But we've already talked about the game. We've already talked about Cleveland. Zach Ertz isn't playing. Let's talk about all of the one-year deals the Cardinals have signed, okay? All of those guys are going to be looking for a home next year. And all of those guys are a part of something they haven't been a part of maybe ever. Zach Ertz, won a Super Bowl. Okay, fine. AJ Green made the playoffs handful of years in a row with Andy Dalton, but it always sputtered out. Thank you, Vontaze Burfict, for their biggest chance to make a deep playoff run. All of these guys could run it back.
All of them. You're talking about like a Tampa Bay situation where
I'm talking James Conner, AJ Green, Zach Ertz. This isn't like the thing that pisses me off about the national media when they talk about this is they're in for it now, meaning it's only going to happen for 1 year. And if it doesn't happen, it's going to disperse. Why? It seems like everything is starting to fit in its right place at the right time, not only for the Cardinals that have been on the roster for a few years, but for all the new additions. This is a cohesive unit already. So it's not just a ticking time bomb through week 17 of 2021 in the playoffs. This could be an ecosystem that could be rebuilt and replicated for a couple years down the road is what I'm saying.
Right. And I think Tampa Bay changed the idea of being able to rely on veterans in this league because it is a young man's sport, right? I mean, the toll that the NFL takes on players, that their production drops off a cliff. But I think what the Arizona Cardinals are doing as far as scouting these players, and you saw it, as I said, I'm going to say it again, on Thursday Night Football, where Zach Ertz has some left in the tank. J.J. Watt has a lot left in the tank. Rodney Hudson has a ton left in the tank. They aren't just kicking the tires on guys that were thrown onto the free agent waiver wire scrap heap. They're bringing in guys that are still productive. And they're not signing them. They're not getting in for a ton of guaranteed money outside of maybe JJ. I mean, he's tied up for over $20 million over the next couple seasons. But outside of that, you've got yourself a good nest egg. You've got the salary cap increasing, and you're not tied down to these guys that if their production completely falls off a cliff, you're SOL, because you're not. And what also is happening, which makes things so exciting, is that Steve Keim is finally starting to hit on some of these draft picks. Rondale Moore, the fact that he's going to be under contract for the next 4 seasons. You've got guys like from Isaiah Simmons that if they pop, it's your next group, and you're not going to have to rely on each and every season like they've had. And they had to do this, Alex, because he wasn't that great of he was a horrible drafter.
Yes, he was.
They had to go to the free agent market. They had to go through trades to bring talent in. And now there's an abundance of talent. And how do it's only going to be more intriguing to, free agents, people who are where the money's going to be even. Why not go play with Kyler Murray, J.J. Watt, DeAndre Hopkins, Budda Baker in the endless list now of players in the Arizona Cardinals?
Yeah, I mean, the pillars are getting rebuilt. And Alex Clancy, Brock, thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. We do this stuff for fun. We do this for us and for everybody that watches and listens. So this is as much fun for us as it is for you. Trust me. Don't ever lose sight of that, because as much as Bo and I bicker and as much as Bo's wrong, like we love doing this. So thank you to everybody who follows us. Follow Locked On AZCards on Twitter. So the pillars before were Patrick Peterson, Chandler Jones, right? Chandler Jones, that's going to be an interesting conversation. Let's wait until later on in the season, because with all these new faces coming in, you're not, even though everybody's on 1-year deals, you're not going to be able to keep everybody, especially with the steep price tag. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But what we saw with Patrick Peterson leaving, with J.J. Watt coming in, with AJ Green coming in, Rodney Hudson, adults coming in the room, people that don't talk like scorn lovers that are removed, everybody else coming in the room, adults ready to win, ready to put together a foundation for a team that not only this season will succeed, but in the future, it's all working. And it shouldn't always be the coaches in the front office's job to be leaders. This is what a normal team looks like that wins. You have leaders on the field to do the heavy lifting. And what we're looking at, and we saw this, we talked about this right when they drafted Kyler Murray, when they traded for DeAndre Hopkins, especially. If it works, free agents are going to come to you.
Yeah.
Like, if it's fun and Kyler Murray's good, free agents are going to come to you. And I know that Rodney Hudson was traded. I know that Zach Ertz was traded. James Conner wasn't. AJ Green wasn't. Could have gone for more money somewhere else. But this new ecosystem with Kyler Murray as the brain trust, the head of it, and winning comes with it. Budda Baker, I mean, this is a fun team. This isn't a team with a bunch of names that used to be good taped together. And it just, so hopefully will roll downhill. And to your point about Steve Keim drafting, his drafting needs to be impeccable now more than ever starting next season, because money's going to be tight. Money's going to be really, really tight. And if you can hit on late draft picks in the first and second round, I mean, everything snowballs, as you mentioned, from there.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's where your scouting comes into it. And you watch Ertz, you watch Chandler Jones, who, of course, had the season opener, which was absolutely crazy with the 5 sacks, 2 strip sacks, and hasn't had a sack since. But, you can temper those expectations about what kind of deal he's going to get. And you try to – right now, the Arizona Cardinals, their scouting has been on point as far as guys who are in the league right now and whether or not they had anything left. And then as far as their draft prospects. And, that's as hard as you and I are. And we are. Like, these are a lot of people who probably tuned into us before and are tuning back into us now are like, whoa, these guys are really kind of changing their stance on Steve Keim. But he has, as far as this offseason, he's done an incredible job. He really has. And the fact that he realized that this team, in a crazy run to 5-0, that this is an opportunity, and what's happening in the rest of the division for him to be aggressive. I mean, it's really impressive. And especially and the Cardinals haven't been relevant since the NFL trade deadline became busy. Before, like back when they were, they were having success under Bruce Arians, the NFL trade deadline was not a thing. So this kind of came to, like, they became buyers and he bought, and I think it's a great move for the Arizona Cardinals.
And you got to think that this 5th round pick could potentially be supplanted by the compensatory pick they're going to get from Patrick Peterson if he plays well enough to get a 5th round pick. So this is technically a freebie, even though they gave up a 5th round pick to move up to draft Marco Wilson in the 4th round. Anything after the 4th round at this point, they don't have enough draft picks. Who cares?
Well, think about it. I mean, They just brought back James Wiggins. He was a 7th round pick. Michael Manette didn't even make the roster.
Right.
7th round pick. Tay Gowan's been traded. Victor Dumakaji. We haven't heard much from Victor Dumakaji. Marco Wilson, a 4th round pick, has been a contributor, a huge contributor. But outside of that, like, think about guys who've made contributions as a 4th, a 5th, 6th round pick for the Arizona Cardinals. It's few and far between. Like,
sure.
you find a guy that can fill a need that you absolutely had, that was on full display when you lost a guy like Max Williams. This was absolutely what they had to do. You have to be aggressive. And it's, look, a 5th round pick, the odds of that, biting you in the butt, the odds of that becoming, the Antonio Brown pick from a couple of years ago when they traded a 6th rounder to Pittsburgh. And it turned out
for
to
Brian
be
McFadden, right?
Yeah, it wasn't, it was with Brian McFadden going back to Pittsburgh with the 6th round pick. I'd have to remember who that was for coming to the Valley, but man, that's like that doesn't happen that often. So I'm not too concerned about it. I think it's well worth it for the Arizona Cardinals.
And what we've said and what I've continued to say, that if the offense isn't the strength of this team, why is Cliff Kingsbury here? And they're starting to prove that you may as well give them the tools necessary in an effort to do it. Now, you have to kind of temper here, because we speak truth here and not rainbows and butterflies all the time. They haven't won anything yet. It's been a great story so far through 5 weeks. They've gone through very, very tough tests. Sunday's going to be another one. These bounces continue to go their way, with Nick Chubb being out on Sunday. Kareem Hunt, again, will probably be RB1 in all of the fantasy football rankings, probably over Derrick Henry. They still need to go and continue to win games they're supposed to win. Kyler Murray needs to stay healthy, but they've set themselves up to be in a position to really surprise the hell out of everyone with all the preseason rankings and everything before the season started. And they haven't even used DeAndre Hopkins. Like, DeAndre Hopkins, after getting paid all that money, is one of the guys, which he's cool with and the whole thing. But, like, man, like, I wonder how far this offense's wings can spread.
Right. And it is interesting. Like, Ertz played with Richard Rodgers last year in Philadelphia. He came over earlier. He started practicing with this team this week. Was that a move to kind of help Ertz get, back at, up to speed offensively? He won't play this Sunday, but there's a good chance that he can play in week 7. could his old teammate Richard Rodgers help him out as far as, the verbiage and how things work offensively for the Arizona Cardinals. So that's also kind of an interesting move. But, man, no Nick Chubb is huge for this defense as far as trying to stop him, because I think he's two talented backs. You've said it, two top 12 guys. Now you got to face one. Still got to stop the run. But it's not even close. I mean,
well, now the Chandler Jones being out is more of a problem, because they're going to have to focus more on the pass a little bit.
And I had seen that in the chat. What are the difference between Chandler Jones? Cliff Kingsbury said earlier in the week he was experiencing symptoms. So the odds of him coming back minuscule. Like at this point, it's not like, hey, he was asymptomatic and he tested positive. He was a guy that he had symptoms, and it doesn't look like he's going to play. Rodney Hudson was on the practice field today, at least in the open portion. You've got pretty much your defensive secondary back. Can they be opportunistic enough? I think that's how you combat that run game. Get your hands on a football and you get the ball in the offense's hands. We'll see what it'll look like with Max Garcia starting at center potentially, and how, if it can rebound from its performance on Sunday against the Niners.
Yeah, and it's wild to see the videos that came out last night after Thursday Night Football, where Zach Ertz seemed to be crying after the game, like he knew he was going to be traded.
It was
really wild.
I mean, it was the worst kept secret. Like he was leaving. That was him saying goodbye. It was one of their security directors, him tearing up apparently, and him pretty much saying goodbye to a place he called home for so many years and helped to a Super Bowl. It's just the Arizona Cardinals are getting dogs right now. They're acquiring dogs.
Yeah,
it's unreal, and it's to be along for the ride and see it. And see this team go from where they were in 2018 to where they are now. I mean, you Arizona Cardinals fans, red seat, you deserve this. Like you ate a lot of crap, and now they're acquiring dogs, and they're like where Tampa was last year, where they're picking up Antonio Browns, they were picking up guys off the free agent waiver wire, they were making trades. I still think, where do you think that they can improve? I saw in the chat defensive tackle. I think I agree with that. Jordan Phillips coming back to the lineup, but I think a run stopping guy would be good. One becomes available. I think you maybe might not even be done at the tight end position. Could you get a guy in there to help out with the run blocking? That would be good.
Yeah. What happens to Jordan Phillips? If Jordan Phillips can play when he comes back and show some sort of, because I mean that was not the best contract signed from what we've seen so far.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, run blocking, that's going to be it. I mean, any sort of, like, whenever I see a veteran linebacker getting cut, Cardinals.
Yeah.
Like, why not? You can never have too many linebackers, especially with Devon Kennard being so up and down. Marcus Golden isn't getting any younger, even though he's serviceable. You never know what's going to happen with Jordan Hicks, Zayvon Collins. Like, you think that Melvin Ingram couldn't have helped this team? Like, you think, like, there's so many guys that are still on the shelf that are ready for a chance. And I don't know if Steve Keim's done. Who the hell knows? Who knows? I still think the cornerback room is where you need the most help. Like, they've been good, but if you could get it, like, we'll see how deep down the rabbit hole Steve Keim is. Like, if you could trade a corner for a second or third round pick that's a CB1 fringe, you do it at this point. Why the hell not? Like, you need a first, second, and fourth round draft pick. You need 3 out of the first 4. And just trade one. Who cares if you can get somebody of impact? Like, it's this season, at this point, it's, what the hell are we watching? Who is this team?
I think you keep Howie Roseman's number on speed dial, and if they continue to fall out
He's expensive.
Darius Slay,
he's expensive. Darius Slay's expensive.
Yeah, but
like, would you trade Byron Murphy for Darius Slay?
No,
you wouldn't.
No.
Well, I don't know, but like, it's gonna have to be a player and a pick.
No, no, because they're just gonna look. They're in rebuild mode. Like, they had an interesting win over Carolina, and they came storming back on Thursday, but they're done. I mean, they're not going to compete. They're not going to keep up with Dallas. They're still trying to build that team. They're still far away. So yeah, I don't think that they're done. There's going to start to kind of follow the teams, like, all the teams that are sitting with 1 win or 0 wins, the Jacksonvilles, the Detroits, the teams that are in rebuild mode. If they're just looking to accumulate picks and draft capital, those are your teams. Those are your teams, and you send them a late round draft pick, because otherwise they're not going to get anything else. And then also we'll see what the Arizona Cardinals can do, is because as you mentioned, they're on 1-year deals. Like, if these guys walk, the Arizona Cardinals pick up a compensatory pick if Zach Ertz after this season decides to go back to Philadelphia or somewhere else? Do you pick up 5th round, 6th round pick in 2023? So
tell you what, he's coming into town right when the weather changes in Arizona. I don't know why you'd ever want to go back to that Philly cold when you're going to be here at 65 degrees all the way through the winter. Plus you have Kyler Murray.
He upgraded the Bird Gang. He's on the right Bird Gang. He's not the old tired Bird Gang, right?
Yeah. The Cardinals fans don't eat horse excrement after winning a Super Bowl for everybody to see, mind you, that we saw after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. You know what? We're going to find out by week 10 or week 12 what the hell we're doing here. Like if legitimately, because they're going to play the 49ers again, they're going to play the Seahawks, they're playing Houston, and I think they're playing Carolina before week 12. And we're going to know. I mean, the 2 tough teams they play are Sunday and then Green Bay on a short week. Those are the 2 games that, if they do lose, they could still be 10-2 going into week 12, which is shut up crazy.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting this week, see where the team's focus is, right? You don't have your leader, the spine, as you said, of that offensive line. It seems like Rodney Hudson's not going to be in the lineup. So there's that. There's the excitement about Zach Ertz and then, him potentially playing the next week. How do you not get caught looking forward? No Nick Chubb. Like, this is going to be one of those weeks in week 6 where the team is really going to have to be hyper-focused about, winning each play, going on a very compartmentalized approach as far as how they're going to win this game against Cleveland. They should win. I think that they should win at this point with Nick Chubb out because it's that run game was daunting, and now it's a little bit less. Kareem Hunt, a guy who led the league in rushing a couple of years ago, still no slouch. But I think that this is a game now with Chubb on the sidelines that they should win. Like they blew the doors off LA on the road. They should be able to go to the dog pound and take care of a 3-2 Browns team.
Alex Clancy, Bo Brock, little bonus edition here for the acquisition of Zach Ertz. This episode brought to you by betonline.ag. Listen, I'm looking at the spread right now at betonline.ag. It hasn't moved. I'm not sure as to why it's still 3.5. The Cardinals are. Oh, it actually went up. It went up half a point. The Cardinals are now getting 3.5 points for Sunday's matchup. Go to betonline.ag, sign up, and on your first deposit, use promo code Locked On for a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline.ag, they've got a new interface, new website. Everything's more streamlined. 3.5 points. If you want to go get it before it changes, which it inevitably will, you would think, go to BetOnline.ag right now. Again, sign up. Use promo code Locked On for a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, your online sportsbook expert. That's my favorite end line for BetOnline, so I'm going to use it.
All right. Any parting words before we get out of here? And we will be live halftime Sunday.
Yeah.
One of the other advantages of the Cardinals kickoff at 1. It's not a 10 a.m. kickoff. So, I mean, look, the excitement surrounding this team, win or lose on Sunday, continues. It's a runaway train at this point. But to see the GM go out there, and especially after seeing the rumblings and people and all the speculation last night during Thursday Night Football, for the Cardinals to, once again, like with the Rodney Hudson deal, jump ahead and pull the trigger, hat off to GM Steve Keim.
I mean, son of a... Yeah. Yes. Damn it. All right. Mercy of the court. Okay? We'll see what happens on Sunday. 6-0 is very different than 5-1 if they lose by 10 points or 14 points. I don't think that's going to happen. If they go across country, even though it's in the afternoon slate of games, and they win in Cleveland, there's going to be a completely different conversation surrounding the Arizona Cardinals. It's not what if, it's how long can this be sustained? And are they as good as their record indicates? And how can you say no if they go on the road to Cleveland on Sunday and win? After they get embarrassed, the defense does. Cleveland does the week before.
Offense has to get back on track. They can't let Cleveland get back up to speed on defense after giving up 47 points last week. And, it's going to be doing that without their center, Rodney Hudson. Max Garcia is going to be in there. But also, J.J. Watt's got to be a monster slowing down the run game against Kareem Hunt. And then you've got your corners back in the game. I think the Cardinals are looking good,
Yeah. See what the pass game looks. And if Kyler's healthy. I mean, we have no idea.
That's another key. Yeah. What's
That's the
Kyler's
key.
shoulder look like?
Yeah.
Because you don't want a repeat of last season where he wasn't 100% and it wasn't even close to the offense that they started with. It's going to be interesting. One more game before we get to see their new weapon in uniform, potentially, in Zach Ertz. The Arizona Cardinals pull off the deal. 5th round pick, and Tay Gowan, the 6th rounder, headed to Philly in exchange for a former Pro Bowl tight end who found the end zone last night on Thursday Night Football. It's pumped. Make sure you're following along on Twitter at Locked On AZCards, at Clancy's Corner, and at BOBRACK, Bob Brack. Thanks for joining for this impromptu episode to celebrate the acquisition of Zach Ertz. His wife, Julie Ertz, coming home. Arizona Cardinals looking good. We'll talk to you halftime, week 6 on Sunday.